So let's talk about your relationship with Apple, because you have a relationship with Apple, and in fact, I don't know what your relationship was like with Steve Jobs, and I do want to talk about the post Apple Jobs, but I know that you guys had talked at least one time. I was like standing off to the side, I think maybe when you met him. I don't know if you had met him before this. I think it was maybe the iPhone 4 after the iPhone 4 announcement.
Right.
Was that the first time? Was that the first time you met him?
That was.
So I was standing like off doing some photographs or something, and I saw Jobs come over and be introduced to you. And of course
No. Jobs doesn't come over to you.
He was brought. Oh, you were brought over.
Yeah, they say, would you like to meet Steve?
Right.
And then you're like,
you were brought to
duh.
him. There was somebody drifted in one direction or the other.
Katie Cotton asked me if I wanted to meet him, and I actually said to her, I said, has anybody ever said no to that? And she said no.
Right. And I saw you guys rapping a little bit. Did that relationship go beyond that? I mean, did you email with each other? Did you ever have any?
No.
Because Jobs actually cited you as a response to, what was this over? Was this Flash, or it was either the dev tools, when they kind of banned third-party dev tools?
Yeah, it's something to do with Flash, though.
And you had written a big, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a lot of controversy about the App Store and the kind of tools you could use, or Flash. It was one of their controversies about things we don't want on the iPhone.
Right.
And you had written a big piece on Daring Fireball.
Right.
And Jobs said, go read Daring Fireball's post on this, because we think this sums it up perfectly.
We think John Gruber's take on this is insightful and not negative.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
How was the traffic on that post?
It was crazy. I mean, it really was. It's by far and away the most trafficked post. And all it was is one of those things where some random guy emailed Steve Jobs, some other guy, like a developer, somebody nobody had heard of.
Right.
Had emailed Steve Jobs, and Steve Jobs just wrote back this one line, we think John Gruber's take is insightful and not negative. And that was it.
He responded in an email.
And then the guy who did that got the email and did, where some people would get emails from Steve Jobs and then put it on their weblog and say, Steve Jobs sent me email, and everybody goes nuts. It's at the top of Tech Meme, the next day.
Yeah. That happened.
Yeah. So it's like second or third hand, though. It's some random guy's site, which never got big traffic.
I mean, you should have just been sending out those emails as Steve Jobs.
It was easily like a 25% bump. Like if you look back at like my month-to-month stats, it was easily like 25, 30% higher than the month before.